I think my expectation of today's event was really about how arts and culture can be used as a great translator. And as somebody who runs a cultural institution but now also works for a local authority, a lot of my time is spent translating different objectives and languages and aims and ambitions for different stakeholders. And I think what's really interesting about today is that it feels like a coming together of things that should be very, very, very connected, but can feel very siloed, particularly if you're in the middle of it. So I think I was just really looking forward to coming together with a wider set of stakeholders to understand what some of the challenges have been in terms of creating more links and more collaborative action. I really enjoyed the opening speech. I thought it was really interesting, and I thought it was interesting that there was an acknowledgement immediately that this is a safe space that we can disagree in as well, or at least challenge some of the preconceived notions of what it is that we're discussing here.
There's a great desire for the two industries to work together because we all can see the value of the creative industries and we can see the value of the collaboration with the built environment. So far there's been an incredible fireside panel between Errol and his daughter Yasmin, really I think opening up and cracking the nut of what can really happen if spaces are designed for the people who are going to be using them and for the product to come out of them rather than just the space itself.
This has been a brilliant way of curating multiple stakeholders to have a conversation that we all need to have about the future of our cities. I think the most important highlight is having an eclectic mix of voices in the room. It's not just creatives telling you what you need, it's not just developers telling you what they can't do or what's difficult. There is a coherent narrative that we're all here together to see how we can collaborate and what the next steps will be. So it's very proactive, that's the highlight for me.
One of my real takeaways from today is broaching the language differences between the two sectors and being able to hear from creatives such as Errol, who was really dynamic and provocative as he always is, but also hearing from people who have been working in the property sector for a long time, who really understand culture and can become powerful advocates for our sector so that we're not the ones who are always banging the door down, to use Mark's phrase.
There's more interest in the well-being and the future well-being of the creative industries than I certainly knew about. We've always had this feeling that we're somehow fighting the tide on our own. But there are people at all levels of business and some at government who clearly have an interest in creating a better environment for the creative industries.
It's really great to see everyone so animated about the challenges and solving them.
Creative industries is one of the top 3 areas of growth for the UK economy, and obviously our real estate sector is booming. So we'd be really interested to see about opportunities of cross-collaboration and also how we can co-create new cultural interventions in the UK.
We've been banging on about this for years, and finally it does seem that the sector is listening to the realization that culture is what makes a place to live for rather than just what makes a place to live.
And it's really just to connect more with the creative industry and what their needs and wants are and how we can deploy that in creating the built environment that will encourage creative industries in terms of public realm, opportunities for social interaction, you create the right places for the creative industry.
A lot of property events in London, a lot of the same people attend, a lot of the same faces, and at this event it's been a completely different crowd, and I think that David and Lee have done a great job of bringing a more diverse group of people together, and that adds for a more interesting conversation on the day.
There seems genuine interest and appetite to try new models and new solutions that meet property developers and owners' objectives, the commercial objectives, placemaking objectives, and creative and arts organisations' interest in working with and collaborating with property, because they're not typical bedfellows. So I think it's really encouraging to see this cross-sector attitude, and hopefully it will develop into some real collaborations.